Okay, we're live.
Welcome to Live with Liv, where we discuss real estate topics with local experts. Today, we're talking about buying in a seller's market with Liv real estate agents Nana Asante-Apeatu, Jeremy Hickey, and JJ Hoffman. With very high demand and low supply in Edmonton, we are in a severe seller's market, which generally means sellers have more negotiating power than buyers do. If you're watching and you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comments and we'll answer them for you. So, I know our agents are exceptionally busy so far this year. JJ, why don't you tell us what it's like trying to buy a home in Edmonton right now?
Well, that's a great question. I know there's a lot of people who are looking for homes right now. And of course, it does depend greatly on the type of home you're looking for. If you're looking for condos and townhouses, perhaps the demand isn't quite as intense. But for single family homes right now, we're seeing that there is often a lot of buyers and not enough inventory, which is what you had just mentioned. So it's a competitive market. And for someone who's new into real estate and just getting an introduction into the market, it can be challenging, which is why it's so important to be navigating this with a great real estate agent.
Yeah, absolutely. Jer, tell us about what you do to help people get ready to work through the challenges of this market.
Honestly, like when you look at how quick things are moving, it really comes down to being prepared, right? So the more time we spend before we actually get in and actually go out and start looking at houses is key. So locking them in with a good mortgage broker, making sure that they're completely approved, they've got a pre-approval letter in hand, setting down some guide rails so they know, what their non-negotiables are, because I can't tell you how many people we've walked out of a house and been like, are we writing an offer on this one? Is this it? And I'm like, guys, like you said, it had to have, the open concept kitchen. This one didn't have that. Like we have to keep looking.
Yeah.
But
Knowing
it's
what
tough,
you want.
right?
Nana, anything to add to that with your clients to get them prepared?
Well, I mean, I think a good analogy is like, as agents, we are basically like pilots taking our clients from one destination to the other. So at the beginning, really giving them the information about, the market, to relate it to a pilot analogy about like the weather. And as we go through it, it might be bumpy rides, but just to reassure them, and to let them know that we're on course to get to where we're going and to get them there safely. So.
Right on.
I love that.
Yeah, for sure. JJ, like when people are getting pre-qualified today, and let's say you're pre-qualified up to 600, what are you telling your clients with regards to when they're looking at homes, what they should be looking at price range wise?
So in a typical market, it's not uncommon for buyers to be looking for homes 10, maybe even 15,000 over budget. That might be pushing it a little bit, but we can always hope to be able to negotiate down. But right now, that's not the advice we're giving. It's really in a buyer's interest to be looking under budget, 10, 15, sometimes even 20 or 30,000 under budget if they're looking for a very, very a type of home, 350,000 single family. You should be looking way under budget because that gives you the flexibility and wiggle room to be able to offer a more competitive price.
Absolutely. That's really good advice. And Jer, is there anything else you would advise your clients just with respect to going out and looking and getting ready, like specifically for preparation?
One thing that I often like to do with my clients is have a little chat about kind of what's, depending on the market that we're shopping in, there might only be this year 3 or 4 homes that fit their criteria if they're very specific and they're looking for that move up product. Whereas if we're looking in the more active price point between, 4 and 500, there might be 20 or 30 houses that we get a chance to look at. So you might not have to jump at the first one that comes. And sometimes giving people that understanding of like, this is what we are looking to expect this year in your price point gives them a little bit of breathing room or helps them understand the severity of the situation that we might be in when we find the one.
Yeah.
It's really good advice.
Yeah.
So when they do find that one, how quickly are people having to act?
Nana.
I think when we see the house, it's the one, we have a discussion, and then we get our, we just make an offer. We get our ducks in a row, come up with our little offer package, and then we get it in as soon as possible. So
your ducks in a row. Let's talk about the offer package, because you're already telling us that your clients are already prepared. They know the process. You've gone through the contracts, negotiating strategies with them. what
Yeah.
else might you be including in the offer package to help give them an edge?
So, one thing that I've been using lately is in this market is a pre-approval letter,
Yeah.
just to give, the sellers confidence that the person that is, my buyer or my client is, financially able and prepared to buy the home.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing, I just did, is writing a, like a love letter, I guess is what we call it,
Yeah.
just to tell the sellers a little bit about my clients and why they love the home. Recently I was looking with my clients and they were looking to move into the French quarters because the husband is Francophone and wants his children to grow up in the French quarter. We're buying a home from also a French, lady based on the name. So it's great to have the letter to create that rapport.
That's swayed the sellers to you guys. I get it. JJ, any tips and advice from you on how you're preparing your package or how you're getting your clients prepared specifically?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is to stay positive. Right now, we have to expect if you're a buyer that's coming into the market, be prepared that you might not get the first home that you write an offer on, and that's okay. There are going to be more homes. I always say to my clients, there will be more homes. There will be other options, so don't give up. We give it our best shot. Don't overextend yourself. I know that it's the type of market where maybe you are going to be paying a little bit more than what you might have last year. But if you're pushing yourself into a budget that makes you feel incredibly uncomfortable, you're not going to have that quality of life, then we wait it out and we wait for something else, and that's okay.
And you've also said to me, and I've heard you say that it's okay. You tell your clients it's okay to wait. If you're not ready, it's okay to wait.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a really good point. So what are you saying? What about people who are worried that prices are going to drop because it's pretty crazy out there right now? So JJ, how do you deal with that?
Well, it's true. I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you exactly what the market's going to look like in 6 months from now. I know last spring we did have some buyers who decided to wait until the fall market, and that was a great option for them because we did see prices kind of taper off. And in typical year, I mean, we do see that is the trend, that things kind of reach their peak in the spring, sometime around April, May, and then they start to slowly taper off. So you can wait until a fall or a winter market where your conditions are going to be a little bit better. Can't guarantee necessarily that prices are going to be significantly different, but there is a good chance that the inventory might be better and the conditions for buying might be better. So you might have a little bit more wiggle room or a bit more opportunity to take some time with your decision rather than having to make an offer while you're still looking at the house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being the stats nerd out of the group, I keep a very close watch on what's happening with the market, and we can see that inventory is quite low, and demand is very high. So we are not anywhere near what the peak of this current cycle is going to be. Once we see the inventory start to creep up, then we know we're getting closer to where we're going to hit our peak in prices.
Yeah, weekly and monthly, Sarah's pumping all
check
kinds of
out our
stats
blog.
and graphs on the Edmonton Real Estate blog. But Nana, is there something would you advise clients that if they don't want to get into multiple offers, would you advise them to wait for a couple of weeks to see a property? Because then they may have a better chance of getting or negotiating?
Yeah, I mean, the longer the property is on the market, the better your chances of negotiating. If you don't want to be multiple offers, making an offer, on a property in the first day of market, probably going to be multiple. So waiting to see will give you a better chance for sure.
And Jer, are you seeing increased activity because of all this pressure in the single family market on half duplexes and townhouses? Are we starting to see maybe a resurgent for those type of properties?
Definitely, Sheldon. We're watching kind of like the whole market being pulled up by the frenzy that's happening in the detached single family.
Yeah. And
everything's just kind of following suit. We're even we've had, condo listings that have sat without showings, without any action now starting to go pending. And it's kind of a good sign for our condo sellers because there's been such a long time that they've been waiting for a chance to come up off the bottom, and we're finally starting to see that happen. So
it's been
it's trickling throughout the whole.
So where is all this demand coming from? What type of buyers are you guys having that are creating all of this demand all of a sudden? JJ?
So I think that the pandemic was really sobering for a lot of people. You definitely can't downplay that a lot of people were impacted negatively by this pandemic. Obviously, everyone has been,
Yeah.
but there's been a lot of folks who've been able to accumulate quite a bit of wealth by not taking those family vacations, by being able to squirrel away some of their money, saving on insurance, things like that. So people have been able to build a bit of a down payment. And we've also seen, I know with a lot of my clients, is some who were previously renting, experienced a lot of uncertainty with their housing situation, especially the first 6 to 8 months of the pandemic. So getting into a home made them feel like that they could access some of the benefits that a homeowner can, like being able to defer some of your payments or the insurance backing that you get with having a mortgage.
Yeah, no, those are all good points. And, I think we've talked about that during the pandemic. There wasn't rental relief, but mortgage companies did allow people to defer their mortgages for up to, 6 months. So that was a positive for home sellers or homeowners anyways. Any insights from you, Nana, on what's causing and driving this market and where are buyers coming from?
Yeah, I mean, change in lifestyle as well. I know last year we moved a couple of people from other provinces that wanted to be closer to family. Just because, with the pandemic, I think people have readjusted their priorities and a lot of people wanted to move closer to family.
So, and also an uptick in relocations back to Alberta. I know,
Yes.
Jerry, you worked with some people that have been moving back from different provinces. Is that a factor as well?
Yeah, you know what? I've done more purchases with people that actually haven't stepped foot in the house. So we've been doing a lot of showings on FaceTime or WhatsApp video, and I always hope that they make it for the inspection, but there's been a number of people that haven't even made it for that. And I've also seen a lot of investors starting to kind of look at Alberta as the last unsaturated market.
Yeah.
And it's tough because our Alberta buyers are used to having a little time, little bit of negotiating power, and these guys are coming from hot markets. They've been competing, in Ontario and BC, and they come out here and they kind of just blow the doors off of some of our Alberta buyers.
Just as an example, go around the table and tell me what's the most multiple offers you guys. Sorry about that. I was going to say turn off your phones, but what's the most multiple offers you guys have been involved with? What's kind of the norm right now?
The norm or the most? Because I would say on an average basis, I'm looking somewhere between 3 and 6 offers on a property. The most that we had a listing, there was 19 offers and 6 of them came in unconditional.
Yeah. Wow. JJ, what about you?
I had a judicial sale that my client was competing on where there were 25 offers. So
Wow.
yeah, competition was a little hot, some might say.
Yeah. And Nana?
The most I've been in is about 13.
Yeah.
13.
Okay.
Yeah, but almost every home that you're looking at, you're competing, right? If you're competing in 3 offers, you're thinking to God, you're happy you're competing with just 3.
And we are looking at this mainly from a buyer's viewpoint, but we are working with a lot of sellers, and it's a stressful market for them because you misprice or you do the wrong things and you don't get those multiple offers. All of a sudden, the market looks at you differently. Jared, what's it like for sellers too in terms of getting ready for the market? Is there anything you're doing differently to prepare them?
I definitely think pricing effectively is at the top of that list, because you do want to get that. You want to have a block party out front of your house. You want the neighbors coming out being like, what's going on here? And there's agents lined up down the street. There isn't a parking spot for miles. And it builds that excitement of what's going on at this house. And collecting 10 offers is great, but it's also stressful for the seller deciding which of those 10 to go with. Like, it's not just because you've got it. Like, there's usually 2 or 3 or 4 that are really close, and helping them decipher who's the legitimate buyer, who actually has the ability to close this transaction is essential. And that's what we're here to help them do.
JJ, would you advise clients right now, if there is a property that goes pending, to make a backup offer, to be the second offer on the property? Would you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the seller's willing to take it, we are seeing that sellers some sellers are opting not to accept backups because they feel that they're going to go back onto the market and they're going to have multiple offers again. So if you're making a backup, keep in mind that it needs to be very competitive. It needs to be good enough for them to say, I'm okay not going back on the market because this is great. But absolutely. And I mean, even though some people, we have the best intentions when we go into it, and it's heartbreaking for any agent for deals to fall apart, but they do. So rather than it hitting the market, try to get it to fall into your lap.
Yeah. Good idea.
Absolutely. Well, I guess before we go, if you could all just add one more piece of advice for people who are thinking of buying a home in the Edmonton area right now. Nana?
Stay positive.
Stay positive. I like it.
Be prepared and stay positive,
Yep.
JJ?
Be flexible. I think that we all have our wish list or checklist of items that we'd like to have in our home. And if you're willing to compromise on a couple of things, you'll find that you'll have a lot more options, and that'll make the experience much, much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Good advice.
Jer?
You know what? When I sit down with my buyers and we've had the chat about, we're pretty committed, we're going to write an offer, we've talked about all the details of the offer and everything we're going to do, I usually like to say, okay, I'm going to get off the phone. I want you guys to chat, or if it's just a single person, I want you to just sit and reflect on this and think about it. If you wake up tomorrow and we've won this bid, how are you going to feel about it? Oh. And I've had people come back to me and say, Jerry, you know what? I don't want to offer. I want to pull out. This isn't the house for me. And I've had other people say, increase my bid 7,500 because we want this house.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I mean, if you believe that the prices are going to continue to rise, then I would look at tomorrow's price. I wouldn't focus on the price today. If you're thinking that the prices are going to go down, then I would sit out the market. I wouldn't add to the frenzy. I would just, take my time and breathe.
Well, I'm going to throw in a piece of advice then. Find an agent that you really trust to help you through this.
Yeah, a really good agent. There's so much information and so many negotiating strategies, from bully offers to deadlines for presentations and all kinds of things. So absolutely. Well,
thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Our live agents brought a lot of insight into how to successfully buy a home in a seller's market. If you have questions or are thinking about buying or selling a home in Edmonton or the Calgary area, we're happy to help. Post your questions in the comments section, send us a DM, or of course, check out homes for sale in Edmonton and Calgary on liverealestate.ca.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.